What's up, guys? Welcome back to the S3 podcast. Today we are here with two good buddies of ours, Chris Sullivan and Eli Bowman, both of Grid Life and Import Alliance. It's the first little car hang that we've done in months. So cheers, boys.
Yeah,
Let's get this off. All right, so Eli, Chris, you guys are OGs of Import Alliance and Grid Life. What was it like? What's it been like coming up with two of the biggest tuner events in the U.S., arguably?
I don't know. Been fun.
Actually, can we start off with like introducing and just talk about what you do now, what you've been doing for a little bit, kind of an intro, and then we'll go in the past.
All you, Eli.
Eli, what you do?
I'm just having a wicked urge to go outside and do a burnout on the S3 podcast. Like, that's just all I want now.
Dude,
Let's go.
do whatever you want to do, man.
Eli, what do you do?
What?
What do you do? What do you do? What do you do in the automotive industry?
He films damn robots. He has a bunch of mini Elon Musks.
I'm gonna leave my camera sitting in one place. Is this is that good?
That's fine.
Okay.
Sure.
What do I do right now? Okay, so it's been a long journey, but as of right now, I work for a company that is owned by GE called First Build, and it is a think tank kind of situation. It's it's a micro factory, and there's engineers, all kinds of people that work there, and they brainstorm new products for GE, specifically for the home. But when they're not doing that, they build 3-story robots that shoot flames. And right now, our coolest project, which you guys would probably actually really enjoy checking out, is we took the engine and transmission out of an RX-8, and we're literally building a frame around it. So it's going to be like a man go-kart, but essentially just like a rotary engine that you can sit on top of. It's the most crazy. It's stupid. So all the engineers there are very meticulous and detail oriented. They've done the numbers, and in theory, if wind wasn't an issue, this thing would go 300 miles an hour. It's so stupid. The power to weight ratio is absolutely just bonkers. So I'm filming that kind of stuff. They're welding, and bending tubes and designing stuff in CAD. I'm learning all kinds of new software that I never was exposed to before. It's just a really cool environment to continually learn new stuff every day, but at the same time, do my passion, which is video and editing and stuff like that. So it's been a dream come true, man. And
Awesome.
Everything that everything that's led up to this point, it's just been a weird journey, but I love what I do. It's really cool. There's a lot of frustrations with it, but I absolutely love it.
That's dope. It sounds like y'all are building a real life Mario Kart of death.
Yeah, I'm afraid to drive it, to be honest.
I love that it's an RX-8. Out of all cars, it's an RX-8.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I take pictures of car events and nightclubs and stuff like that. But lately with this whole situation, I've been kind of in limbo, which sucks. But pretty recently, I got back to working for a performance shop locally. So I've been shooting all their content lately and kind of working on some projects for them too, which has been a pretty good time.
Oh yeah. So Chris, where would you say that your start shooting for the car world came from?
I used to draw actually. In high school, I had my whole kind of like life was dedicated to drawing. And I had a buddy in high school. I was always into cars, like obviously, I'm sure all of us were. But I had a buddy in high school who was into Japanese cars, and I thought they were like really dumb and lame. This is like they're like right around Fast and the Furious, like right around when the first one came
Like when
out.
Hunter was born.
Yeah, exactly. And
Wait, how old are you, Hunter? Like
22 now, right?
I'm 22. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, he kind of like got me into that stuff. So I started drawing car stuff, like from Super Street Magazine, Honda Tuning, stuff like that. And then I actually I got like a cheap digital camera as a Christmas gift one year, and just kind of was like, oh, it's like drawing, but it takes no time at all, and I'm less hard on myself when I take pictures than when I draw, because it is what it is. There's an aspect of that where I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I don't know, it's nice to just have it be what it's going to be instead of like, taking months to perfect one detail or something. Just kind of like my personality. So that's what got me into it, and that was a long time ago. So I've been shooting ever since, and haven't really had a job other than shooting ever since. So it's been pretty fun.
Hey, so Eli, what kind of started you in the film aspect of the digital world?
So I'm just now learning that Chris was into drawing. Dude, that is rad. How the hell did I never know that? That's so cool.
Hotel room conversations about everything else in the world. But yeah, I have
really conversations about everything else in the world.
Yeah, I
want to see you draw, man. That's pretty cool. I want to see you draw.
Still draw.
I haven't drawn in almost, like 15 years, ever since I started shooting.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, it was like a light switch. It was weird.
Where does?
What's up?
Where does so your interest in photography comes from drawing. What about you, Eli? Where did you start in being like holding a camera and going, this is the rest of my life?
So I grew up watching Haggard and Jackass, and my parents always had like that shitty like DV camera like laying around, and I always had I just remember there always being just like a rat pack full of dudes in my neighborhood, and we were always doing dumb shit. And whether it was like skateboarding or some of my friends were like, their parents were like rich and they had like tiny little dirt bikes, and we would like build ramps and launch them and stuff. And so I was always just the one filming everything, because I don't know, I just thought it was fun to film everything and then go back and watch it later. And for as long as I can remember, I just always had a camera in my hand at all times. Like it was just the thing that I did. And that kind of like transpired into like, there was this Rat Rod magazine that I met the guy. He asked if I could do photography, and I didn't really know much about it, but I had a T3i, and I did some shots of some rat rods, and that kind of turned into a money-making opportunity, which was way more fun than working at Buffalo Wild Wings, which is what I was doing when I was like 17. And so that was kind of like my intro into the automotive realm of like capturing automotive content. And then I started moving into Import Alliance. And I just just always had my camera with me. And it was just kind of like two passions kind of met. But back in the day, it wasn't really, for me personally, like I remember I wasn't ever focused on like YouTube or like videos. It was about Honda Tech and all the picture threads. Like you'd go to an event, and then the next few days, you'd sit on Honda Tech and be like, oh, I wonder if someone got a picture of my car. Yes. And then you'd sit in pages and try to be like, oh, there's my Integra. And so if you took pictures, that was the thing to do, is to post up your pictures on Honda Tech. Or, for me, it was 502 Street Scene, which is the Louisville, Kentucky forum.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't video that I got started with. It was photography, which is why I've always loved hanging out with Chris, because I always felt like a shitty photographer. Like, I don't know, there's just something, like I could never get it. I just always had way more fun doing video. But it's like its own, they're two separate worlds. Like they really are. And I've always appreciated Chris's natural ability, but once I got into like discovering that I could do much more with my T3i, like it shot 1080, like, it was perfectly fine. And I just started filming IA events and becoming friends with like Don and the guys and Omari. And it became more of like relational instead of like, hey, I'm trying to get paid for this. It was just like, I'd go to the events. I was already there. Like back in the day, there was this thing called the Midwest Caravan, and it was like hundreds of cars, and they would travel down the highway at like 100 miles an hour, like 100 people at a time in one giant line. And it was straight out of something from the movies, man. It just was unreal. And I was always hanging out of the window, hanging out of the sunroof, just like capturing everything I could. I just remember it was insane. I absolutely loved it. And so I always was capturing. And for the most part, it sucked. Like, I did not know what I was doing, but like I had a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, it just kind of, one thing led to another, and it snowballed from there, man.
Hell yeah,
That's
man.
so awesome.
The caravan.
Where was that?
It was just like everyone who was going to Import Alliance would like meet up on the same highway and cruise down. So it was like just a huge group of cars cruising down. It was super fun.
Back in the day,
that's so sick.
I was in a Corolla Car Club, and in Florida there was a bunch of like chapters or whatever. And we would all like link up on the forum and say where each like checkpoint would be. So if you're whatever one's closest to you, you'll meet up there. They're there for like 15 minutes. You hook up with them, and then y'all keep going. And there would be a show in Jacksonville called Sibling Rivalry. It was a big like Toyota and Lexus show. And we would do that kind of like big caravan. But I mean, Jacksonville is its own little shit show in traffic, so you can only go so fast. But
I feel like I-65 is the same way, isn't it, Eli?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're all in one cluster going 100 and something, it doesn't really matter. Like, everyone's going the same speed as one amoeba going down the highway, and it's chaos. And they can't arrest everyone. Like, they'll pick you off like a lion trying to get the weakest little gazelle or whatever. And it's like, sorry about this, you could have been faster. Like, not our fault, your car's slow. Just keep going. But I don't know. That was like, honestly, that's what made me fall in love with the car scene. Between the movies, like the Fast and the Furious movies, and like growing up around like my uncle who always had like muscle cars, being like 16, 17, 18 and going to IA in the Midwest Caravan, and like all of my homies, there was just a lot of heart and soul to it back in the day that like I literally fell in love with it. And to this day, I still have like an emotional connection, with all that kind of stuff, going to those events. And I think Chris still shares that sentiment as well. It's not just a job. It's like not just an event. Like, I'm connected to it, if that makes sense.
It's like home.
Which is why this whole situation is so rough. I feel like I've, haven't been, I don't know, kind of living just how I normally do. Like, so much is missing,
Yeah.
So Chris, did Import Alliance come first for you or Grid Life?
Yeah, I was actually at the first Import Alliance ever in like 2005.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know Import Alliance went back that far.
Yeah, it's really old. It was at a mall, and there was it actually was kind of like an Accord meet and also like a little whatever meet, and And one of the forums I was on back in the day, we kind of like set up a meet, and I think we were like really hyped that there was like 35 cars there. We were like real hyped. And I drove down from Chicago, and it was in Nashville, and it was at Next Gear Garage, which was Don Napier's shop, and it was in a mall. And it was just like
Don Napier had a shop.
Yeah, it was called Next Gear, and it was just a small retail shop. And
I think it was for DSM cars, right? Or
what's that?
it was for DSM cars, right? Or was it for multiple cars?
It was for all types of stuff. They had do you remember those like plastic intake manifold gaskets that were like they used to make those for all different chassis, and I don't know, it was pretty cool. I remember walking in there, and like this is like before Japanese car stuff was super like available, and I remember walking in and seeing S15 headlights and freaking out, and that's just like the only memory I have from the shop because it was so long ago. But yeah, it was cool. I was like one of the few people who got to see that shop before it was gone.
So for those of you who don't know, Don Napier is founder / co-founder of Import Alliance. You know, probably the biggest, East Coast tuner gathering, I would say. Would you guys agree?
It's the import meet in the country.
Yeah, I mean it's the largest one that I'm aware of.
Or was for a long time. I'm not sure
crazy.
Anything's bigger, but yeah.
Import Alliance is actually, I mean, if you're watching this and you've been watching the S3 podcast, you guys will know, but Import Alliance was where I met Wooly for the very first time, and where my job with S3 kind of spawned from. So
I think you need to tell that story. That's a really good story.
Yeah.
I don't know if
pretty
you
crazy.
told it before on the podcast, but you should definitely tell that story.
I think the last podcast we talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I will have to give credit to Eli, because if I owe anything to my job at S3, it's got to go all the way back to Eli, because I was a freshman in college at the time, or I was a freshman in college. I was a fire science major, broke as hell. No clue. I didn't want to be a fireman, but it was like the first thing that I saw on like the list of degrees. So I was like, sure, this is a good idea.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, my friend sent me this video from this event called Grid Life. Like the video, which now I know Eli made or had some, part in producing it. Dude, it was like the biggest inspiration. It was the following weekend. I didn't have any money to my name, and I split a hotel room with like 10 people and found my way at Grid Life, and it was life-changing. If it was not for that video that talked me into going to Grid Life, once I got there, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing the rest of my life. And from that, I'm talking about Grid Life. I met Wooly at IA, but it was me going to Grid Life for the first time that was like, I don't care what I have to do, where I have to go, what hands I have to shake. This world is where I want to be. Like, this is my career. I don't know how. I don't know how this is going to be possible, but I'm committed to it. And so through that, the dominoes fall to Wooly, to S3, and then here to this podcast today. So it all goes back to one Grid Life Instagram video that I had been sent my freshman year of college. So
that's awesome, man.
I don't know what video that was, but I don't even know if it was me, but there's a lot of guys capturing content at that event, but that's cool that you were inspired that way.
Yeah. I think it was Grid Life 2016, 2017, something like that. I don't know.
16 was our first year in Atlanta. And it was there's something special about that event for sure.
Yeah, it would have been 16 then. But yeah. So that's crazy. So yeah, so both of y'all.
That might have been Eli's first Grid Life, I think.
Dude, I was talking to Don earlier, and we listed 13 different tracks across the nation that we've been to. And I was just laughing because I've forgotten about so many different events. Like I wrote them down. There's Atlanta, Kentucky, St. Louis, Kansas, Nashville, Texas, Talladega, Titan Stadium, Bowling Green, MCM, Florida. Like there's all these different places that I've been to because of this job. Literally, I can't even remember them all. And over the years, it just kind of all meshes together. I'm sure Chris can echo that. It's just like, it becomes this like, wait, where were we when that happened? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
It's
So like
crazy.
me and Hunter, we've only been doing this for what, 3 years, and we just went. Yeah, we just went to our second SEMA, and I feel like every event we're always like super hyped, like it's the first time, and we haven't yet got to the point where things like mesh together. And I mean, if we take anything from you guys, it's you guys still go to events, with the energy like you guys are going for the first time. So
Dude,
I hope me and him can keep that up.
Yeah, dude, it's my favorite thing ever is just going to events and seeing buddies.
Yeah, because not only is it like, you're seeing cool cars and, you're around the industry, but through being in the industry, you make friends across the country, if not the world. So at every event, it's like a giant homecoming because you finally get to see each other again. Because like around here, I have like two. When I go to,
he froze. I thought he was like trying to think. I don't have any friends here.
No, but I have like two friends that I hang out here on a regular basis. But when we go to like a Grid Life event or something, every time I turn around, it's like, yo, Hunter, yo, what's up? And it's like fist bumping, homies from Chicago, LA, Texas, New York. It's wild. There's no other experience like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think cars are like 5% of the draw for me at this point,
Yeah. Eli just got a 370Z.
What?
Oh, what?
Damn.
Yeah, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is news to me. I'm glad, dude. Congrats.
So before we talk about the Z, I went to SEMA in 2014, and that was my first year at SEMA, and I remember being blown away. Like I've never been to an industry event like that. I don't know if you guys were there in 14. I think Chris was there in 14.
Yeah.
I remember that year absolutely blew me away. And ever since then, I've always wanted to go back, but SEMA to me is not something that I wanted to do every year. I kind of like the idea of going maybe every 3 years. So I think maybe like as soon as all this COVID stuff clears up, I might try to go to the next one. But
yeah, as far as SEMA goes, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say you'd mentioned 2016 Grid Life, and that sounds about right because I remember 2014 leaving SEMA and all the events leading up to that. Chris actually brought me into Grid Life. Like Chris is the whole reason that I'm even affiliated with Grid Life at all. He like literally introduced me and Chris and brought me under his wing and introduced me to everybody. And so I owe a big thanks to Chris for any involvement with that. So
I'm just glad you're there, dude. So no, SEMA's one of those things that like it's a lot and it's also kind of like repetitive if you go every year, but it doesn't really matter to me because honestly it's not about that. It's kind of just like going having fun with buddies, playing beer pong and O'Shea's with these guys.
O'Shea's.
Yeah. That's kind of like my favorite parts of SEMA for sure.
Is Grid Life gonna do the after party this year?
I have no idea. Actually, we're all kind of waiting to hear how this is gonna shake out. Hopefully, SEMA even happens this year. Who knows?
Yeah, we had a podcast about that a couple of weeks ago. Do y'all think it's gonna happen?
I think so, and I hope so. I'm not sure. So
same.
If it is, I kind of want to drive my S2000 out just to kind of do something really dumb.
Okay.
Like really dumb road trips that are like, a terrible idea in every way. But
so if you wanted to do that, I can't say too much right now because it's on the low, but S3 might be having an F-150 at SEMA that are trying to convince Wooly to road trip out there.
That would be sick.
So-
I'd actually, if that's the case, I'll drive down and then drive out there with them.
Yeah, so that would be
Because my car might break.
Yeah, but it's all in the air right now. But you'll see. You guys will hear more about that later. But
sure.
how's this 370Z treating you? So me and Eli talked on the phone briefly before the podcast, just to kind of go over how things are going to go down. And he told me that this is the first newer car that you've ever owned, right?
Yeah, so I put a down payment on a GSR when I was 15, and I paid on it and paid on it and paid on it. It didn't have an engine. It didn't have a transmission. I literally towed it back to my house, stole a B16 out of an EG hatch when I turned 16 and got my permits license, and Frankensteined them together. It was horrible, but it was my first car and I built it. And I absolutely loved it. But ever since then, I've had about I think just over 30 cars. I'm 30 years old now. And if you do the math, that's just way too many cars per year for one person. And they've all been junk cars or race cars that I've wrecked, or, the shitty Honda after shitty Honda. I had a few Lexuses and Nissans. But I've never had a legit out of the box, I could take that to the track and have a good track day. And so it's so fulfilling and really exciting to have an actual real out of the box purpose built race car that I'm proud of,
That's dope. You got any plans with it?
So I have what?
So you have any plans with it? Are you going to keep it stock or?
I plan on keeping it for a long time. I think it's I don't know if it qualifies as a halo car, but it's such a classic car that, it kind of embodies everything that I'm into. It represents to me the S chassis. It represents Japan. It represents rear wheel drive drifting. I've had an S13 hatch, Rocket Bunny that I did a RB20 swap, and I was just really into that, and to me it kind of just embodies all of that in a nice neat package. And I love that just OEM stock, it's a beautiful car. You could literally not touch that car and the body lines are they're gorgeous to me. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it for a while. I plan on I'd love to track it. I've gotten way too confident. I've actually already wrecked it. I'm sure Chris is laughing at that, but with this COVID stuff, all of the roads around here are empty, and so at night I can go out to these 4-lane roads, and it's for hours there's no one. So I've gotten pretty good at initiations and clutch kicking. And feeling the weight and the momentum of the car move, but my tires are not that good. And when it gets wet outside, the car is a little bit unpredictable. It spun around on me, top of third gear, and I sent it into a ditch. But I've fixed it since then, and I've learned my lesson to keep it on the track because it's too nice of a car to be throwing it around into ditches and stuff like that.
So do 370Zs come factory with an LSD?
They have a VLSD. It's 6 discs that when the liquid sends it, I don't know, if it gets hot, the discs clamp together and the wheels lock. So you're good for about maybe 3 or 4 drifts, and then the wheels start giving, and you gotta let the diff cool down. But it's a sport package, so it's got the Brembo brakes on it and the VS, and it's got this weird rev matches. So and it's automatic, so you shift down and it automatically Jarvis and Iron Man. It just perfectly computer shifts to where you want to be. It's cheating.
What year
it's totally
is it?
cheating. It's a 2011, but the cool thing is they didn't change the body style all the way to 2020. There's headlight differences slightly. So, like I'll be cute sometimes and get away with telling people it's like a 2017, trying to be cool, but it's a 2011. But I love it. Like, it's my favorite car I've ever owned, and I'm going to try to take care of it to the best of my ability.
Hell yeah, dude.
Sure.
I want to see that. I'm excited to see that thing go out on the track, man.
What color is
And
it?
It's like this gunmetal silver, and it's got 19-inch racing wheels on it that are actually really nice wheels for being stock wheels. They're plus 30 offset, 10-inch wide. But I'm planning on getting some Work Emotions, the two-piece wheels, but they're kind of pricey and they take a long time to get to your house. So that's the plan for those, at least.
Oh yeah,
My favorite thing about Eli's car, because he told me that he hated the factory steering wheel, so he put a grip royal on it. But right underneath the grip royal, he's got a hot pink S3 sticker.
Let's go.
Yeah. You all have it's written in, I cut it in half, put the speed styles down right underneath the steering wheel. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
There it is.
And yeah, I took the right side of that and put it underneath the steering wheel.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Scott
That's it.
from Grip Royal was nice enough to hook me up with a wheel, so
Shout
I don't
out
know
to
if he's gonna
Scott.
want. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, shout out to Royal. He's always like the coolest guy at the events. I remember making a joke with him at Grid Life South because he was so hyped during the concert. And I go, dude, you're making me want to crowd surf, like as a joke. And he goes, really? And then immediately picks me up. He's like 4 feet tall. I'm 6'4". Just picks me up and just chunks me on top of everybody. And so like 1 second I'm on the ground, the next second I'm like on the top of the crowd, just like, did this really just happen? Did he really just throw me onto this crowd? Scott, shout out to Scott. He's a guy. But anyways, all right, now Chris.
Yeah.
I know you have like a shitload of cars. What do you have?
I have too many Honda Fits, and I have my S2000, which is like my favorite car. And I have a really old Accord that I've been building since about as long as you've been alive. So I got that car. I got that car in 02, and I really plan on making it like a forever project.
Right.
It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not most people's cup of tea, but it's just that car that I've had forever, and it kind of like got me through some hard times. So I want to build it again.
I feel
Sounds like Jesse. Sounds like Jesse and his Corolla.
Yeah, dude, I totally get that.
Yeah.
If you have a connection with a car, don't get rid of it because it's hard to find that connection again.
Oh yeah. There's literally, and it's of course like I would never get any money from it by selling it. It's worth way more.
Yeah.
In sentimental value than it could ever mean in dollars.
Totally. Yeah, I definitely get that. But yeah, my S2000's good. I just been driving that thing around as the weather's getting better and enjoying that a little bit. Hopefully, we have. What's up?
Tell them the story on how you got that S2000.
Oh.
I think that's hilarious.
So I kind of always ever since the S2000 came out in 2000, I really wanted one, and it was like kind of a goal to get one. And I decided you kind of think on this stuff for a long time. I knew what color I wanted and everything, and I was just around the time where I was going to start looking for one to finance, and my buddy worked at CarMax and called me and was like, hey, someone just traded in a white S2000 with red interior, and I can buy cars for wholesale, like what they paid plus like a couple $100 for their processing fee. And I was like, cool, I'm on my way. So I went and looked at the car, and it was like it had kind of high miles, and it was like a little rough, but I had him hit me up the next day and let me know what kind of money we were looking at, and he was like, yeah, I think they traded it in for $1,900. And I was like, okay, cool, like sold, no matter what. Like I don't care if the motor's blown up, doesn't matter to me. So I went back the next day and gave him like $4,000, like cash, just like I don't care what it costs, just figure it out and let me know. So he ended up buying it for me, and it was like $2,700 out the door.
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Listen.
What?
Tax, title, and license, everything. So, since then I've spent a lot more money on the car, but the car's been really good to me. Like, the car has 280,000 miles on it now, of which more than 100 of that I put on the car in the last 8 years. So, I drive the car a lot.
But like he got it for $2,700, but don't take that away from it being like a shitty car. Like from what I've seen in photos, the paint's really nice, the interior's really nice. You've got like 8 different set of bulks for it. Like
Eli's
What's the
been
miles on it?
on Road Atlanta.
What's the odometer read at?
I'm at 280K.
Okay.
woo!
Yeah.
But it's got a different motor in it, right?
Yeah, the motor that's in the car probably has like 90,000, something like that. But
Okay.
I have the original motor, and it wasn't really hurt when I pulled it. It was just kind of tired. So I figured
Listen, I'm looking up S2000s, and they're 18 grand, 39 grand, 36, 39, 44.
grand, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't be $2,000 either. So I got pretty lucky.
So
Oh my God.
I've been going to all these events. Chris drives from Chicago down to, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know if you went to the Florida event, but I know that you've driven more than 8 hours straight in that car.
Oh, I've driven to Atlanta.
What kind of coilovers do you have in that thing?
It's on KWs.
So it's not stock, like, fluffy cloud suspension. It's like race car. And he's driven that thing more than 8 hours straight before through absolutely life-threatening storms. like I'm watching it on the radar, and I'm like, Chris, I love you. I hope you don't die. Like,
yeah.
I'm seeing that it's got a hard top on it. What do the hard tops run on for that car?
That's actually a replica, so it's not as expensive. But like, I think I have like $1,500 in it. But the like the Mugen one is like $6,000 if you buy it like from them.
Listen, so all those prices I gave you, they're all the convertible. None of those are hard top.
Yeah, that's actually a picture that you have right there. Is the day I got it, to give you an idea what it actually looked like. That last picture.
Well, cool, man.
all right.
So,
Hunter, how empty is your beer right now? Jesse, how empty is your beer? Chris, how empty is your beer?
Mine is empty, and I've had 2.
I'm on
I
number
got
2.
like a quarter left.
Are we ready? Are we ready for? Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hold on. We get one out of the fridge.
Chris, we'll pop it. We're gonna pop together.
Yo, I've got a story right after we do this.
All right. 3, 2,
I'm open.
Big.
What was it?
Oh, yeah.
The last.
Hold on. I have an S2000 story for Chris. I had never been around the track at Road Atlanta, and I had been in several drift cars, and I thought I knew what was up as far as on-track time behind the steering wheel. I had never been in a time attack car in my entire life, and I was nauseous for the rest of the day, but in a good way. Like, I went with Chris, and I swear to God, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. It's what I feel like it would feel like to go up in an F-16. I mean, he threw the thing around the track so viciously and so fast, and because I didn't know the track, it was terrifying. Now that I've played it on Forza a billion times,
There we go.
I know the track, the back of my hand. But when I went around Road Atlanta, I did not know the track. I didn't know the back 40. I didn't know the turns. I didn't know the keyhole. So Chris knows the track, obviously. So he's going into every corner like proper and foot to the floor. And I remember him saying, "Gas until you see God and then brake." And we got back into the pits. I took my helmet off, and I was like, "Oh my God, I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life." And I mean, it is a totally different beast than going in a drift car. Because in a drift car, a proper drifter is smooth and transitions properly, and there's no jerkiness. Like in a time attack car, you are fighting for every second. It's a little bit violent from time to time. And dude, he is an amazing driver. I was laughing the whole time. I still to this day, it was like one of the most amazing experiences ever. I still have video from it, and it was just like, oh god. But
I think
the most
excuse we used to take you out so you could get footage.
the scariest time attack car that I've been in, I have to say, was Grid Life Midwest, the Turbo K Miata.
Yeah, that's gonna be a rough time.
Made like 500 wheel, only my second time out in a time attack car. Dude, like as I was walking up to it, he was bolting Hoosiers on it. And then to make it even better, he dropped the top and he goes, all right, patted the seat, goes, let's go. And I was like, okay. So we get in it, and dude held nothing back. I was shocked. There was a couple of times I thought, like, I'm done. Like, I'm dead. But yeah, but I do like the juxtaposition. I do like the juxtaposition that Eli mentioned. You would think that the drift car would be a lot more jerky than the time attack car, but you know, it makes sense that it would be.
You froze again.
Bro, say it again. Say it again.
Run the track.
Nah, man.
Good.
So how
I
do
need
you
to get
get a
better.
bunch of photos this year?
I want to, you know, I find myself, I feel very lucky to be in the position that I'm in with S3, because if I'm being honest with you guys, I have, excuse my language, no fucking clue what I'm doing. I'm just, you know, fake it till you make it with me, if we're being honest. Like when I started with S3, I was like, dude, let me run your Instagram. And then Wooly, being the lightheaded Rasta reggae boy that he is, was just like, okay. And so since that moment, I basically, you know, had to get my shit together and figure it out. Like somebody says, hey, you know, go take photos of that car. I mean, at the time, all I'd ever done to my very first event, my first FD with Grid Life, I had only ever shot in automatic mode, you know, like no clue what I was doing. But since then, thanks to the help of, you know, guys like you, Chris, dudes like you, Eli, and especially Jesse, because it took Jesse having like this heart to heart that was like, dude, you can fucking do this. Just like, you know,
dude, and don't sleep on him. He's learning quick. He's got. Don't you have something featured in this current issue that's going out?
Yeah, I did a shoot of Wooly's Jeep for some parts that we changed on it, and that whole photo set is actually going in the magazine. So that's really exciting. Yeah. But yeah, I do for this year. I want to really get better at photography and videography, because, you know, I look to both of you guys, or all three of you guys, really as inspirations, because you all put out just fantastic work, and I see it and I'm like, man, I want to be able to do that. And I tell people all the time, I don't consider myself a photographer or a videographer. I'm just a dude that points a camera and then hope it looks good, you know. But we're figuring it out, that you got to start somewhere, right?
Dude, and let me mention this. These guys are so humble, like incredibly humble. I've been seeing Chris's work in the magazine for a while. Eli, I think I messaged you like this time last year, and I was like, I saw your work, and I'm looking at my own stuff that I'm putting out, and I'm like, how do I do that? I think I asked you, like, what do you shoot with? Like, what's going on? And you're like, I shoot with whatever I have. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's like, senpai, notice me.
It's definitely an Eli response.
I literally
have been shooting. Here, I'm going to show you what I've been shooting on. You'll laugh your ass off.
Let's go.
Oh, I'm excited for this one.
This might be
okay.
Funny.
I've been literally shooting.
My dude. Oh my gosh.
Pull out the 400.
Oh my god. Man.
That's sick.
Oh
Isn't
my
it
god.
crazy how like
A 200 that what's up?
That's cool.
I don't know if you know the story of that, Eli. It was a 200 that I had about 4 years ago, and me and my buddy were shooting a music festival, and two dudes jumped him and stole the lens off the camera.
What?
Yeah, and it's like a really rare lens. They only made them from like 91 to 96. There's only 8,000 of them, and they're like stupid expensive. And I found this one really cheap on Facebook Marketplace. So pretty hyped on that.
Were you with Shay?
What's up?
Was it with Shay?
Shay was also shooting the festival with us, but it was my other buddy Lewis who also shoots at Grid Life sometimes. I don't know if you've ever met Lewis. Have you?
Yeah, I think I have met Lewis.
Yeah,
well, there's a couple. There's I think 2 Lewises, right?
Yeah, he was at actually at that first Grid Life you were at. He had his blue EM1 there, like blue and white EM1. Yeah,
I remember him.
So yeah, he got jumped while using my lens, and it's been missing ever since. And I picked one up here last month, so I'm pretty hyped to go shoot with it. But what the fuck am I gonna go shoot?
That's
Right.
terrifying. That is terrifying.
I mean,
Listen,
hopefully-
I'm terrified of like losing my equipment.
You can send that back to Canon, right? And they'll like refurbish it back to new.
This one, no, because it's so rare they don't even have parts for it anymore. But like it's perfect. Like I've been shooting with it, trying to go through it. A lot of this like real heavy big stuff that they make is pretty old, but like really tough. Like it takes a lot to hurt these things. As a matter of fact, this 400 fell out of a golf cart in Atlanta this year or last year.
oh, I bet that was scary.
Yeah, I was not stoked. A buddy was like running some parts over to the other. You know how there's 2 paddocks in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and they were like coming up one of the hills, and it like fell out of the golf cart onto the ground and like rolled down the hill.
Oh no!
Yeah.
For guys who are not photography or getting into photography, that lens is a 400 and easily new. What, a $4,000 lens new?
Probably like
$4,000 used.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, that's crazy. So yeah, if I saw my lens rolling down a hill, I would be having a couple. God.
I'm extremely meticulous with my equipment. I mean, I'm terrified. I mean, everything that I have, I've bought with my own cash. And so you guys know it. Like once that $2,000 body or $2,000 lens goes, like it's another 3 or 4 years before I can, earn that back again. So like I'm super meticulous. I've only dropped one lens. It was my Nifty 50. I had it on the hood of my car. Because when I take the lens off, I quickly put the cover on the body, and I quickly put the cap on the back end of the lens, put it on the car, put my body away, got in my Corolla, started it up, went, and next thing I know, I hit the brakes, and it goes flying by next to me rolling.
The brakes.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I had a couple nicks on it, but I still use that 50 to this day. Now I have like a rig, like a chest rig that I put on me, and I have everything there zipped up and Velcroed. So I could roll and get hit by a car, but my lenses will be fine.
Man, I'm the worst this year. I have sitting here like 3 or 4 broken lenses just because like I shoot 250 days a year. Like shit just happens. It's unfortunate, but it's real. So
that presents a question that I have for I guess all 3 of you guys being photographers / videographers. What's it like doing this, run and gun filming that it takes to the effort that it takes to pull it off for these automotive events? I mean, it's insane. It's much different than doing like portraits.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's like a turnaround time that's expected of like event work in general that isn't wedding stuff, because somehow with as difficult as weddings can be, there usually is kind of like a decent amount of turnaround time that's allowed. But a lot of this like automotive events particularly, people expect me to deliver the same day, and it becomes kind of ridiculous trying to figure out how to make your workflow fast enough that you can turn stuff around like immediate. The immediacy is like a real important thing. So, I mean, how many times have we all been hanging out after an event and me, Jesse, or Eli have been editing, you know? I mean, I think that's kind of
well,
what
that's really staring at the computer.
Yeah. We're just sitting there bullshitting, but like we're sitting there editing at the same time. Like, that's kind of one of the biggest challenges, is making your workflow so you can be really quick.
Man, I get so much shit for that in the group sometimes. Like, what was it? Our first SEMA, I would be filming or shooting photos all day, and we have a turnaround time for that. So we get back from SEMA, I'd be in the hotel. I'm like, let me upload this. Let me go through, at least 100 and pick 100 of them that we can quickly put together. And they're like, oh man, change. We're going to go grab some beer, some brews or something.
Yeah.
And it's just
SEMA's I actually usually don't even shoot at SEMA anymore unless there's like something that I particularly have to deliver. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just there to like kind of maintain relationships and hang out with buddies. So that, I don't know, that's always been a good thing at SEMA, where it's not as much about shooting for me.
Yeah.
I think we kind of learned that lesson. Go ahead.
Yeah, but
I was just going to say, having two people, I've learned over the years, is really, really crucial, to have a shooter and then to have someone to be able to do data management, to just drop a card and then the shooter keeps shooting and the person log the stuff on the hard drive, edit, release, whether they're on the Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is. But having a 2-person team is like, it's oh my gosh, it's invaluable. I mean, it's definitely the way to go.
I've noticed, Eli, that you're very particular in the way that you produce content, either with IA or with Grid Life. A lot of the guys that we're involved with try to do everything in-house by themselves, versus you are very open to having a whole team of guys that you use to get content out. Where did that come from? Were you influenced that way, or was it just like an idea that you had?
Well, I will say Chris is way more, like he said originally when we started off, he is a perfectionist, and I appreciate Chris's craft because he is so detail oriented, and I'm actually not super detail oriented, but I do have my little, tendencies to be like, oh, that can't be that way, it has to be this way, and I definitely have my preferences, but I've just learned that like it's okay to like let things go. You're much more effective as a team than by yourself. And not only can you problem solve better, but like you can go further and get more done. If there's more brains involved and more hands involved, it's just it's way more effective. It's almost stupid to try to do everything by yourself.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. And I think that's one of your strengths, that like the way you work with, especially with steel at a bunch of our events, is huge. Like, I think the fact that you can kind of like sit down and focus on what he's doing and how to make that like cinematic or whatever. Like, he's out there getting the raw clips and you're figuring out how to make it all like the puzzle pieces fit together. I think that's really important, and I don't know, I think it's a really good thing. I have a hard time with that. So I have a hard time letting go of what I want to do,
I've kind of got a question go ahead, Eli, before I go on to the next question. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, like, Chris's heart in that is that there's an emotional connection to it, because it's like, it's your baby. Like, what you're producing is literally like your little content child, and you're passing it on. And some people, they just want consumable content and there's no emotion there. But for us as content producers, it's like, here's my heart and soul. Here you go. Just I hope you enjoy consuming it and forgetting about it in 10 minutes. Like, it sucks, but it's just the nature of the beast. And I've seen Chris's passion. I mean, Chris can vouch for this. We've had like hours and hours and hours of conversation about this, just the heart and soul of it and why we do what we do, and the struggle of like this, turnaround. Like, okay, so you could post something on Instagram tonight, no one's going to care about it in the morning, and then post something the next day, no one's going to care about it the next day. It is like vicious, you could come out with the amazing thing ever, and then 24 hours later, no one gives a shit about it. And it's but it's this reality.
I'm much more like I prefer traditional like means of consuming content. Like I prefer large format or like I don't know. Lately, I produced a book that kind of it's all that way. It's at least tangible and people can take their time and stare at it and really see the nuance. I think that's important, and because I care so much, that's it's kind of like a downfall, but also like what I think is my drive too. So
right.
Well, it's what it'll keep your work around long after you're gone. People will still look at your work and be like, "Holy shit, this was amazing!" Like,
Yeah.
they'll be able to
ever happen. And I think that's all anyone who does anything creative wants is it to have some legs and to live for a while.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I totally take it as this is a living representation of me after this project. This goes on forever as a representation of who I am.
yeah, man. I think that's really good.
So for events, if you're just doing like general event coverage, for me, it's like terrifying. I always have this idea of like, I'm going to miss something, or like I have to be going. I have to have my camera with me literally 24 hours of the day. Because if something hot happens and I don't have my camera, I'm going to hate myself. And it doesn't matter like anything I shot during the day. If I miss that one moment, I'm just like, it's ruined for me. So like sometimes
that never goes away.
I know. So I've tried to like battle that by like having some kind of organization. So like understanding an event and breaking it up into different categories. So like grid life, you have the afterlife or the after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you have like the time attack, then you have the drifting, you have like the whole, the vibe in the pit. And then you have all the vendors. So I try to like break it up and try to understand it in different aspects. So once I capture a section, I can finally be like, all right, that's that. I can let go of that and move on to something else.
Yeah.
Is there anything you guys do to kind of like mentally prepare or organize, whether you're shooting photography or filming an event at large?
One of the things that kind of stands out for me that helps a lot is just like even when I do feel like shooting, just make yourself shoot.
Are any of y'all getting feedback?
No, I'm not.
I'm not.
Eli, hit the mute button real quick. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're good. You're good. You can turn it back on.
Okay. The biggest thing for me has always been like, even if I don't feel like shooting, just fucking shoot. It's really the biggest thing. And I mean, all three of us. I've seen all three. I mean, I know I do it. I know Eli does it. Now you do it, Jesse too. We'll all be at events. We'll all be shooting for like 18 hours straight.
Yeah.
A day.
Yeah.
And drinking and enjoying and whatever. And I think that's the biggest thing is just like I always make sure to pick up my camera when I feel like no one else has a camera out. I think those are the most important moments. So
I think that's one of my favorite things about Chris is even when we're just, chilling, drinking beers at like SEMA or whatever, like Chris is always one to see like, I guess the sentimental value in the moments that he's in. So he captures.
That's all that photography really is for me. It's kind of like, there's a thing that like photography and video stuff, it ages really well. So like there's this thing that like you look at pictures from 10 years ago and you only wish you shot more, even if it's like stuff that didn't mean anything to you at the time,
Yeah.
So it's like, even, I shoot a ton of like insignificant whatever, but like I think those things are the most important photos to have is like, oh, what was going on behind the blah, 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 or, whatever event you're at is the coolest stuff to have.
Yeah, sure. I think some of my favorite photos of myself have actually come from Chris, including the one of me like walking through Old Vegas, pouring a Corona on my face, completely missing my mouth.
Let's do that again.
I recently just rediscovered it's a file. So ever since you told me that how you organize your data, I've kind of adopted a similar process. I have organized lacy drives with everything that I've ever done. But every now and then I'll just kind of pick through and like just kind of laugh at old memories. And I've recently discovered the time Cheeseburger died.
Which time though? That's the thing. There's been several.
I need a backstory on this.
Yeah, I don't know any of this.
Good story. You guys don't know.
I don't know. It's a little sketchy, but it's just like a good example of like you have to just kind of be aware at all times that like a moment is a moment and it's only going to be there for that moment, and it's just so enjoyable to like go back and like relive those good times, you know, especially like, okay, so right now we're in COVID, you know, confinement to our homes. I don't know how many times I've gone and looked at footage from IA and Grid Life and just like wished that I was at a racetrack, you know. It's nice to be able to do that.
Oh my God. That was me and Hunter. Like last week, we ended up going through a bunch of photos from the road trip we did in the Type R from Georgia to California. Man, I mean, I know during the trip, everyone was like, wow, I don't know if Jesse got enough photos. He's been shooting the entire time. But like now, I look at every single one of those and every single photo. Like some of the stuff was just like, I couldn't even understand the beauty that was right in front of me. Like it was so unreal.
I think that's one of the most important things to do is to like kind of the ability to appreciate those moments is what makes you a great photographer. You know, I think those are, and video, whatever. I think the documentation of like the people and like the experience is really way more important than taking pictures of cars on a racetrack or cars sitting in a parking lot, especially cars in a parking lot, but I'm biased. So
I had a video of riding in the back of a pickup truck around Road Atlanta, and it's the ISO is cranked as high as I could go, but it's really about the audio of it. It's laughing from, I mean, I think there was 6 or 8 different guys in the back of the truck, all just laughing and having the time of our lives. And you just see like the stars in people's faces and like laughter for like just cruising around Road Atlanta. And dude, it's the most pure, hilarious shit ever. And I mean, to me, that's like, I don't know, it just brings a smile to my face and it's absolutely priceless. Like, I just love that stuff. There's
one clip I've got, and I think it was it Grid Life Midwest? We're on the back of this golf cart. Greg Bucell is driving. Jared Danda's in the back. And we're just cruising around going from campsite to campsite. I probably got 5 minutes of us just riding in this golf cart in the dark, and it's just laughing our asses off. We're heavy in the back, so like Greg's trying to go, but it's just lifting the front end, so we're not able to go anywhere. So we've got to
drive straight through a tent, dude. Oh. Who knows if there was people in it? And then Jared's in the back. Jared Deanda is in the back going, fucking watch it, Greg, if that's even your real name.
Greg with 2 G's. Every once in a while I go back on that.
My first Grid Life Midwest is kind of, I blame mainly Chris for my experience. And then I do remember Eli. Hold on, so
I'm gonna get another beer. Hold on a second.
Okay. Oh man,
that's like all empty, man.
Okay, so when we first got to Grid Life Midwest, Chris goes, "Dude, this is your first Midwest, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You got to get trashed.
You got to get drunk if it's your first.
Are you sure about that? He's like, "Yeah, I want you to wake up in some random person's tent." And I'm like, "Are you sure about that?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, there's no other option." So sure enough, I get pretty bad off. I don't remember like the last quarter of the night. And I just remember like at some point the next day on Sunday, waking up slumped in the Honda Pilot with Eli Instagram story going, "Hey bud, how you feeling?" And I was like, Get out of my
Oh
face,
my
Eli.
God.
He's like, "You feeling all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like practically about to hurl. I'm like, "No, man, I'm good."
Eli, you don't know the half of that evening.
Oh, dude, Eli, if you knew the whole story, it was so bad.
It was
I
night
remember
and
parts of
day. It was night and day. It was 1 second he was fine, the other second he was in the bathroom
it was the birth
giving
of
high fives, making friends.
Yes, it was the birth of the noodle. That's true. They still call me Noodle Boy to this day.
In his like flesh-colored hoodie.
Oh man.
Chris and I have had our share of adventures. Chris can definitely vouch for that. There's been several of those nights.
I think I've been a bad influence on your life, Eli.
You've been a great influence on my life, Chris. I love you.
I remember at one point, it was Saturday night, and I was walking back up to, I guess, like Tent City for some reason. And I just see Eli standing by himself in the dark looking at this Lamborghini. And I'm like, Jesse, were you with me, man?
Yes, with the baby little yeah.
So we walk up and we're like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, "Isn't this the most beautiful car you've ever seen?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
You're like, it's pretty cool.
yeah." I'm like, "It's a cool car," and he's like, "No, dude. This is the best car I've ever seen in my life."
I know exactly the Lambo. The black one, right?
Yeah, the black one on the
The
gold.
mirrors on that car are gorgeous.
It was a cool car for sure.
We gotta get Eli to come to speed ring.
I want
Yeah.
to come.
Speed ring is a good time. It's different. It's definitely a different kind of event.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
just-
It's it's very interesting. I don't know how it would be for like spectators. It's not big spectator oriented, but if you can weasel your way into like the after parties and stuff and make
Yeah.
friends with in the industry, it's really the best place to do that. If you want to get your foot in the door of the automotive industry, Speed Ring is probably the best place because
Yeah.
you know a lot of big wigs trying to scratch Motovicity's back all in like one place. So it's really your best shot.
Speedring has got a special place in my heart because that's where I'm going to get my first cover on the magazine. It was a shot or a shoot that I did there. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You were shooting right when I was, right? Are you talking
Yeah, you
about
were outside in the rain.
getting
with
destroyed?
Mustang?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Dude,
guys were,
your shots are always.
I appreciate it, man. Yours too. Like legitimately.
I'm still learning.
I mean, we all are. You never stop learning.
True.
Dude, Speed Ring was where I got to drive my dream car for the first time.
Oh my
Shut
God.
up, Evo.
That's where we bunny hopped in Evo accidentally.
Oh. We jumped the fudge nuts out of that Evo by accident. I did not realize it was as sharp of a hill as it was, and I was just balls in it, and woo! And and I wasn't going to acknowledge it because the dudes who owned the car were looking at me, and Jesse goes, "Did we just jump an Evo?"
Did you let off the gas or did you stay in it?
No, I stayed in it, dude.
Nice. Good job.
Well, what makes it even? But we're S3 Magazine, right? It was Super Streets Evo.
Yeah, man. Oh my God, that was one hop away from me starting to give pace notes, like rally pace notes. Oh man.
Man, you guys had some good parties back in the day that Eli and I would go to. Do you remember the mansion party, Eli?
Oh my gosh. Okay, if you guys know, I don't think it's on YouTube. It's on Facebook, I think.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah.
On it.
So do you guys know Shocker Joe?
Yes. Oh my God.
I've never met him, but I've heard stories.
We shot a Shocker Joe Cribs video in Atlanta. Everyone pitched in and bought like a weekend's worth of mansion, and then we threw this giant party and we filmed a Cribs video with Shocker Joe. And it was back when Oh my gosh, Downstar was, Frank was still in the Midwest doing things, and just it was an interesting collision of timelines. There was all kinds of people there.
Yeah, Sean Fenton and Chris Silver in that video.
Woolie's in the video.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Woolie's sitting in the video. If you can find it on YouTube, that would just be hilarious. I shot it on Chris's camera. He was like, "Here's my camera. We're doing a Cribs video," and I was like, "Oh God." And Joe was like naked at the end of it, and there was like girls in hot tubs, and it was just like, what is happening? It was crazy. I remember somebody like got in a fight or something. And we had to leave, but
I mean, ready to fight this guy because he was drunk. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there's just like endless shenanigans every year.
And then there was much more debauchery when we got back to the hotel. Do you remember that? There was stuff going on in the hotel pool. Put it that way. Some good times.
Things were popping off.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's so funny.
Yeah. Hey, I was gonna ask Chris, what is your favorite thing that you've shot over the years? I know for me, being at Gingerman at Sunset, hanging out of those Honda Fits, shooting Vaughn, shooting all the guys. Those are some of my favorites. With Shay kind of producing and the Power Stop guys. I think his name was Chris, right, with Power Stop.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, I mean, some of the most beautiful content came out of that weekend. I remember shooting the guy who drives the Honda Civic and he likes to drift it. What is his name?
Tom McGorman.
He was. Yeah. We shot his car and that Boss S14. It's just some of the most beautiful footage came out of that weekend that I think I've ever shot.
Honestly, there's something special about Gingerman sunsets. I don't know what it is. Based on what it is or something. There's something really cool about it, though. And honestly, I think most of my favorite memories of shooting on track are Gingerman at sunset. They're really... Yeah. The track isn't the most spectacular track visually otherwise, but there's something about sunset there that's hard to beat.
Maybe it's the flatness of it. There's like kind of like a nice juxtaposition between subject matter and sky. Like it's like so separating. And then the one year we had the Ferris wheel in the background. That was really cool. I don't know if that was, but that was cool.
Incredible. That's like one of my favorite things, and it's even cool. Adam Jabay even puts like a media slot in the schedule to make sure that we can shoot rolling shots at the end of every day of event, which is cool. Yes. Occasionally it gets eaten up by like cars blowing up and having to be dragged off the track, but like usually it works out and we can shoot really cool content.
There's effort there, and that's what counts.
Yeah, it's super appreciated. It's like one of those things that they didn't have to, but they want to make sure that we get cool stuff. So
it's one of the most cool experiences to be able to like, okay, so you have Chris Forsberg and Ryan Turk and Vaughn and all these hot boys all day long. You have all these professional teams with, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of race car going around it all day long. And then for us as content producers to have our time slot during the most beautiful time of the day, no one else is allowed on the track. It's like this intimate, cool, like, time where it's dedicated to us to try to, gather like really cool content for the vendors and the teams. It's like a privilege that I really like. I love that. It's one of my most favorite things. I don't know. There's something special about it.
Yeah, it's like peaceful almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like cool because usually like the concert's kind of like starting to rage in the background too. So you have like, I don't know, there's like some energy building at the same time, which is cool.
Yep. It's the transition between the day and night of, because we do, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you get these transitions between daytime, and then you guys know, it turns into a whole nother monster at night. But
it's a whole different event once the sun goes down.
Yeah, that was when we did the Type R series. We were we had to do both Grid Life festivals.
Person you do, Chris?
Huh?
What's that?
Oh my god.
What's happening? I'm lost.
I don't know. That was my girlfriend escaping the room.
Oh. But when we did the Type R series, we had to do both Grid Life festivals, and we had a videographer hired to specifically film the Grid Life series, and he did not want to film the nightlife, and we were like, dude, that is only half a Grid Life if you only shoot what's going on during the day. Like once the track goes cold, that's like a completely different event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely kind of like a all inclusive kind of event. Like you don't really leave unless you need to like get more beer. That's kind of like the kind of vibe that the event is shooting for. So
yeah, one time we were leaving at Midwest, and Eli was like, "Hey, I got to go shoot this like thing, but I got like $20. Will you go get me a bottle of whatever?" And I was like,
Yes.
I was like, sure. He was like, okay, here's my number and $20. Please don't steal it.
Is that what you drank? Is that what you drank? Is that what turned you into Slinky?
What?
Is that what turned you into Slinky, man?
No, I don't know what turned me into Slinky, but I also remember Eli, like, he started to walk away from the car, and then he came back and he goes, wait, are you 21? Yeah.
One more time?
Like, okay. That bring up again?
He said, "Are you?"
do you remember when we got you drunk in a hotel lobby and almost left you there for like the morning?
Yeah, I like.
That was
I fell asleep in the lobby.
Yeah.
Yep, and y'all were determined to get me my first stripper too. I remember that. Like we're bringing a stripper in. It never happened. However, they were pretty stoked on. Who was that other guy? The dude with that supercharged S2000.
Which supercharged S2000?
It's red. I think it says Death Motion on the side.
Oh, Jared.
That's Jared, man.
What's he up to? I haven't seen him since Import Alliance.
He works at Winning Formula now. He's actually the guy who facilitated the repair for my 370Z. When I wrecked it, I was at the top of third gear, flying into a ditch. I broke off 2 control arms and messed up my suspension and busted my wheel up, and it was a nightmare. But the guys at Winning Formula, Baby and Jared, they got my car back together.
They're good dudes. They're definitely good dudes.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's awesome.
They're building all the Miatas to win Grid Life Touring Cup too.
Hell yeah.
So
Eli, are you going to be shooting Grid Life, or are you going to sub that out?
Oh, I have not heard anything regarding Grid Life. Like, I have not heard a single thing about what's going to be happening. I think with COVID and all that stuff going on, it's just a little weird right now. So I have no idea.
we'll figure it out. It'll be all good. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Yep. Part of the course.
Take it back, guys.
Well, all right, guys. I think we're coming up on, like an hour 20 now. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. But thanks again to Chris Sullivan and Eli Bowman for hanging out with us for a little bit today. You can find Chris at CRS photo with an F on Instagram. And Eli, you can find at Elijah Bowman Films. Of course, no spaces because it's Instagram. But go check out those guys. They're really cool. They put out some incredible content, whether it be photo, video, whatever. They're great dudes, so check them out. Once again, thank you again for hanging out with us. And guys, we will see you next time. This is coming out tomorrow, so we'll see you Friday. But
all right, let's do it again.
Thanks
See
a
you
lot.
guys.
Appreciate you. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon.